Welcome back to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. Human trafficking in Delaware. It's a much bigger problem than you may imagine. Here to talk about it is Yolanda Schlabach, who is a registered nurse and the executive director of Zoe Ministries Incorporated. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
A couple of basic questions. What is Zoe Ministries?
Zoe Ministries was founded back in 2012 when we formed our 501c3, and our goal was to bring aftercare to human trafficking victims who were female, who were 17 and younger, who were in and from Delaware.
Now let's talk about human trafficking, because I think when most people hear the term human trafficking, they think about an international problem. They don't think about it being in their own backyard.
Yes.
So explain what it is.
Human trafficking basically is modern day slavery. And stats have shown throughout the country that there are up to 300,000 children, American children, every year who are at risk for being trafficked. Minimum number across the nation is 100,000. So these are American kids in the U.S. being sold for sex in the U.S. by U.S. citizens.
And every time somebody talks about the problem, they think, oh, that's a problem they have in California, or it's a problem they have at the Mexican border, or it's a problem they have in New York. But this is every community, and it's a problem in Delaware.
It is a problem in Delaware. And when I started doing research around the East Coast, when I started this work in 2012, I couldn't find 4 or 5 people that agreed that human trafficking was happening in Delaware. So I went to Maryland to their task force. I went to New Jersey. I started looking around at our surrounding states. They were making hundreds of arrests. And so it occurred to me that perhaps our numbers may be higher in Delaware, even though we don't have stats, because the traffickers are well aware that Delaware is not making arrests.
Well, so is human trafficking different than prostitution, or is that a symptom of human trafficking?
When we think about, well, I want to give you the legal definition first.
Okay.
So the difference between prostitution and trafficking, according to the Department of Justice, is that if you are 18 years of age or older in the state of Delaware, and there is an issue with either force, fraud, and coercion, and you're 18 or over, and you are being forced to do something against your will, that is known as trafficking. If you are 17 years of age or younger, you don't have to prove force, fraud, or coercion according to Department of Justice. You are automatically a trafficking victim if you are 17 and younger and in a prostituted situation.
And how do the pimps or human traffickers lure these women into this life? Because they have to do so, do they do it voluntarily?
Lure is a very good word, because that's exactly what happens. These are predators whose full-time job it is to lure often young girls. The average age of lure in our nation is 11 to 13.
Oh my God. And
so oftentimes what happens is, if a child, for instance, would make a comment on social media that I hate my family, or I want to leave, or I need money, or I can't stand my mom right now, these predators prey on these children and young women and boys. There are also males that are involved in trafficking as well. And they lure them into relationship and start to alienate them from their family or their friends or their social network. And they bring them into relationship, and often these young women or girls fall in love with who they believe is a boyfriend, who ends up to be a trafficker. So then what happens is, he says, we're going to be a family, we're going to stack up, we're going to save this money, but I need you to help out, and I need you to make some money, and this is how we're going to set it up. Is
there enough being done in the state of Delaware to educate young women about the risk?
Just a few days ago, I was in Governor Markell's office, and he signed a proclamation declaring January Human Trafficking Awareness Month in our state, which is a huge step in our state, when considering 5 years ago I couldn't find just a few people that agreed that it happened here. So that is the platform from which we will jump, because awareness is the very first step.
But a proclamation's easy.
It is,
I
and
mean,
that's why
I still give them credit, but a proclamation's easy.
Yes.
Wouldn't you need to be able to get into the schools to educate young women?
Absolutely, absolutely. We need to help students and parents, counselors, truancy officers, educators, administrators. Our goal in Zoe Ministries this year is to really focus on education. So I will come to high schools and do presentations for the kids. I have a separate presentation for adults, because I show what trafficking really looks like in our state.
You said you want to show people what it looks like in Delaware. What does it look like? Do you have numbers?
The reason we don't have numbers and the reason we don't have stats is because we haven't had arrests. So from From 2000 and the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, that was a federal law. From that point to 2014, we had no state legislation. June 30th, 2014, Governor Markell signed our first state legislation against trafficking. It was Senate Bill 197. From that point to this past August of 2016, we had no arrests. Beginning in August, we made 3 arrests of traffickers and identified 10 adult female victims. It's a start. Just because there's no stats doesn't mean it's not happening. So if we look at our surrounding states and we look at the numbers across the country, for us to think that it doesn't happen in Delaware just because we don't have stats would be foolish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in. Yolanda Schlabach is a registered nurse and executive director of Zoe Ministries, Incorporated, dealing with human trafficking in the state of Delaware. When the Delaware Way continues.